look at the rights that we enjoy as human beings in a particular state as citizens, we have the right of life, we have the right of freedom of movement, and so on and so forth. Now the question goes, freedom of speech, and this is part of the right that we have. That is the freedom of speech. That is the right to speak, against political injustice, to speak against the bad actions of the government, to speak against corruption, to write and publish articles that will enlighten the public about the hidden secrets of the government. Now these are the things that we see in right of speech. During the time that military governments are in charge, there is no freedom of speech, because it's something that the military government takes away from citizens. But under democracy, this right is assured. So they now said that what are the hindrances, what are the limitations that we receive for this right of freedom of speech. Now, what kind of hindrances, when is it limited? And before we answer the question, I want you to know this. Remember that your right as a citizen stops where the other person's right starts, so that you don't go and, because you're enjoying your right, cause another person to be suffering when you're enjoying your right. Your right does not hinder another person's right. So anything you do that will hinder another person's right, because you are trying to use your own right, is a limitation to the enjoyment of the right. It is barred by the law. Now, based on this question, when you begin to do a particular action that hinders the security of the state, you are hindering the right of others, and it's a bar to your right. And look at the options here. We have limitation, that is, but it will be limited if royalty is not shown to the ruling party, if it exposes the wrongdoings of the government, or course not, endangers the security of the state, yes. It's used to cause embarrassment to the judge or judiciary, no, it's not a limitation. Now, number one is not a limitation. Royalty is not shown to the ruling party. You are not meant to be showing bias or prejudicing or favoritism when you are speaking in terms of ruling party. That is not one of the limitations. So you are free to rebuke any party, you are free to speak against those things, those wrongdoings of the government, and you are also free to cause embarrassment to a judge that is doing things that are wrong. So, but then you are not in any way entitled to endanger the security of the state, because your right is limited in that aspect. So the answer is C. Thank you very much. So once again, we are looking at number 5. Here we have the question which says, which of the following is an obligation of the citizen? A. Attending political rallies. B. Taking part in Independence Day celebration. C. Contesting election. D. Paying respect to the national flag. I want to let you know this. Number 1, A is not the answer, B is not the answer, C is not the answer. The answer is D. Paying respect to the national flag. That is one strict compliance that is expected of every citizen of the nation. When the national flag, we see national flag, we take national anthem, there must be utmost respect. Now, attending political rallies is not a mandatory or obligatory duty of the citizen, because political rally is something that the government does not mandate. You know how political rallies are being done. It's very brutal and very dangerous. People can actually get injured and all that. So it's not a mandatory thing, because some persons can be suffering from cancer, suffering from asthma and different things. Now we also have taking part in Independence Day. It's the same thing with the rallies. It's still like a rally. Then we have contesting election. It is not a must that everybody will come out for a particular office to be contested or to be the governor. There is no constitution that states that the obligation of citizen is to be the governor. So the first obligation you have as a citizen is that you must pay respect to the national flag. Thank you. So welcome to number 6 of the question. Now we're looking at the extent to which the citizen regards the institutions, officials and activities of the government as rights acceptable is known as what? How we have the power, we have known as power, legitimacy, influence, authority. Now I want you to understand this before reading this question further. Whenever you're answering a government question, you must know definitions and understand definitions of political authority, legitimacy, political power. You must understand all these definitions, or else you'll be confused in example. Now, looking at this question, it will look as if it is power, it will look as if it is influence or authority, but the answer is actually legitimacy, because legitimacy is the acceptance, is the acceptability that is given by the citizen of the government. Not every government is acceptable by the citizen, because for instance now, the military government, that government that takes it by force, the government that is by force mature, it is that they don't contest election, the citizens don't nominate or elect them, they just come in by seizing the political power. And that is, in that situation, there is no acceptability of the citizen, there is no acceptance by the citizen of that government. So whenever there's acceptance, whenever the citizens accept the government, it is legitimate government. So legitimacy. Thank you. So number 7. Now this question is a tricky one, but I'll make it easy for us. Diplomatic immunity is a limitation to. First, you need to understand what diplomatic immunity means before we read the options, so that when I say the answer, it will be easier for you to get it. So diplomatic immunity means the freedom that is enjoyed by ambassadors, all these diplomats, when a person of a particular state goes in a representative capacity to another state as an ambassador or a diplomat from his own state to that other state, he enjoys certain freedom, which is called immunity. Now this immunity at times may be and can serve as a limitation to the principle of rule of law. Rule of law talks about legality and morality. Sometimes an ambassador can do a particular act, a diplomat can make a particular mistake or do a particular act, and he will be exempted from being punished, he will be pardoned. Why? Because he enjoyed some immunity that the state, the country is offering him, because he's a visitor. So it does not go contrary to separation of power. No, it does not go contrary to checks and balances. This one has to do with the check and balances between the executive and the legislature or the judiciary. Separation of power has to do with the independence, the freedom that is enjoyed by the legislature, the judiciary, to do their work without any interference by any of the other arms of government. There is supremacy. Parliamentary supremacy has to do with the parliament, that is the law-making body. It doesn't have anything to do with diplomatic immunity. But the rule of law, it affects every principle of the rule of law when a diplomat is pardoned because of the immunity he enjoys. Thank you. Here we have number 8. Federal state is always expensive to run, because you know what a federal state means. Federal state is where the government shares power between the component states and the federal government. That is like Nigeria now. We have the FCT and we have different confederates, like different states. So in a federal state now, they say, is it expensive to run? Okay, what makes it expensive to run? Number 1, they say every parliamentarian wanted to become rich. This is not the answer, although it's part of the things, but it's not the core answer. This is not what I'm looking for here. Don't be tempted. Number 2, government departments are duplicated. Now this is the answer, and I will explain why it is the answer. Number 3, judges are highly paid from the consolidated fund. This is not the answer. Number 4, maintenance of the armies requires high expenditure. This is also part of it, but it's not the main answer. Now, why this is the answer? Because this is what is obtainable. This is what is actually happening in the government. Government departments. What are government departments? Government departments are different ministries of the government, like Federal Ministry of Environment, Federal Ministry of Technology and Information, Federal Ministry of Agriculture. All these kind of ministries, they have different departments. And one of the issues we are facing in this federal state is that a president has the right to create a ministry and to appoint his own person in that ministry, and this has been the major reason why federal state has become expensive to run, because the president of the governor in terms of governor have commissioners of health, commissioners of wealth, commissioners of this and that, and they always want to favor persons or people, and by doing that they just create different ministries that are not even working and not relevant, and by doing that also it becomes expensive to run. They spend so much money favoring people that sponsor their political aspiration, or even pocketing the money in their own accounts by creating ministries and saying that the ministry is doing one work and there's no work happening. And this is one of the reasons why federal state is always expensive to run. Government departments are always duplicated. I hope by this you will not forget this answer again. This is number 9, and then the question goes like this. In which of the following party systems are all shades of opinions and interest adequately represented. Question is very simple. All shades of opinion. Which of the party system? We have zero party, we have one party, we have two party, we have D, multi-party. Now, in which of these parties are all shades of interest adequately represented? I want to know this. For zero party, in fact, in zero party, no shades of interest is represented except for the persons that are the leading class in that particular country. For the one party system, the one party system is mostly operated by the military government, and military government, you know, as I already said, there's no democracy in military government, so your opinion does not matter. It's only the party that is the leading party, which is the one party that only represents their own interest. Then also in two parties the same thing. There are two parties there. If it is A party that is winning, the A party that is leading, there is only the A party interest that will be represented, while the B party, nobody cares about them. But in a multi-party, like what Nigeria practice here, where we have APC, PDP, APGA, Labour Party, different parties that you don't even know of, there are many and millions of them, and all of them, when a party emerges, they represent all the interests. Because see, APC people, although in practice APC, they always favor their people, but they don't do it publicly. Because in theory, multi-party system where we have different parties will be able to convey the interest of everybody, so that when one party emerges, other parties too will be benefiting from that one party that emerges, because it is a multi-party system. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, and every party must serve the community and not their party, which is not found in other party system. Thank you. Alright, here we have number 9, and we have the question that says veto power is vested. Okay, come again. Veto powers in a presidential system lies with the A, Attorney General, Chief of Armed Staff, we have Executive President and Prime Minister. This question can be confusing because we have Chief of Armed Staff and Executive President, and you know that the President is the Chief of Armed Staff and also the ceremonial head of the state. But don't be tempted to choose Chief of Armed Staff. Actually, the answer is Executive President, because the President himself, the office of the President, and not the Chief of Army Staff, enjoys the veto power. It is not the Attorney General. Attorney General is the person that represents the Federation in a lawsuit, a criminal proceeding against them, against the President. The President will not go by himself. It is the Attorney General that will go and stand in place of the Federation. You cannot sue the President, you can sue the Federation, you cannot sue the governor, you can sue the state, and it is the Attorney General of the state that will represent the governor, that is the state, and the Attorney General of the Federation represent the President, that is the Federation. Because you can't sue the President but the Federation, you can't sue the governor but the state. Now, and the veto power lies on not the Attorney General, not the Chief of Army Staff, but the Executive President, and not, of course, not the Prime Minister. We don't participate in the Prime Minister. That is obtainable in the England structure and not in Nigeria. It was doing before the federal and democracy was declared. That is when we were operating Prime Minister, which is no longer obtainable. But assuming it was there, the answer would have been the Prime Minister. But presently, because of the democracy and the federal system that we operate in Nigeria, it is the President. Thank you. Right now, this is number 10, which says, which of the following is the lowest class of people in the federal system? You should understand first what the federal system is. A federal system of government is the system of government which operates a form of nobles and overlords, whereby they have different classes, and the lowest class, which is the serfs, are engaged in agriculture and farming system, where they cultivate, and the production they make from that maybe a month or a year, depending on the time given to them, they submit it to the nobles or the landlord or the manors. So under this, there are different classes in the federal system, but the lowest is the serfs. The first are the nobles, that is the rich, the kings, the queens, the prince. The seconds are the lords. The lords are not really the kings and queens, but they are high men of stature. Then the third class, this is the average class, the manor, and the last class is the serfs. So the lowest class of people in the federal system are the serfs. Don't forget that the serfs are not noble or lords or menors. The serf. I remember it's a kind of land system also whereby the landlords are collecting from the people, the tenants in the house, and the serfs are like the tenants living and cultivating the lands and everything, while the landlords are just eating the money. Thank you. This is number 11, and then we have Mussolini's fascism and Hitler's Nazism are good examples of what? We have anarchy, we have federalism, we have totalitarianism, we have oligarchy. Okay, actually here the answer is totalitarianism. Why? Because it's a matter that has to do with force, and then the force here that is seen is that everything belongs to them, everything is by force, just like the military government. That's what happens in totalitarianism. It is not federalism, it is not oligarchy, it is not anarchy, it's a form of totalitarianism. Thank you. So lastly, we're looking at which of the following is supreme in a federal system. And we have the following options: the judiciary, legislature, constitution, and executive. As we already explained earlier, the judiciary, legislature, and executive are under the arms of the government. And remember the principles of separation of power. In all of these, the following has the similar powers and responsibility. But when you look at the constitution is the ground norm, it is the total law of the particular state. Without the constitution, these ones does not drive the right. The right of the judiciary is derived from the constitution. The legislature too, according to section 5 and 4 and 6 of the constitution, the judiciary, legislature, and executive derives the right from the constitution. So therefore, the supreme in a federal system is the constitution. So with this, I will summarize my class. I would like to make this advice: ensure that whenever you are studying any question or asking any question in government, make sure that you are careful with the options, because the options are always similar. Make sure that you understand the option, and any option or answer you are choosing from the option must be something that you are convinced of, that it has to do, and only it can be the answer to the question you are asked. And don't forget what I said earlier. Make sure you also know the terms, definition of terms like anarchy, oligarchy, monarchy. Know those definitions. It will help you in answering your objective questions. Thank you very much.